Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, verses 7 and 8. Atastvam ekabhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvara Shishtadandadharo Nainam Subha Shubha Vivechanam Atastvam ekabhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvara Shishtadandadharo Nrinam Subha Shubha Vivechanaha Atastvam ekabhutanam Shveshwaranam Adishvaraha Shishtadandadharo Nrinam Subha Shubha Vivechanaha. Devotees. Tastamiko Bhutanam Shashwaranam Adishvaraha Shastadhandadharo Nrinam Subha Shubha Vivechanaha. Dasaptamiko Bhutanam Shishasparanam Adikshvaraha Astadandadharo Nrinam Subha Shubha Vivechanaha. Tastamiko Bhutanam Shishasparanam Adikshvaraha Sastadhandadharo Nrinam Shubha Shubha Vivechanaha. Atastam eko bhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvaraha Sastadhandadharo Nrinam Shubha Shubha Vivechanaha. Tastameko Bhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvaraha Sastadandadharo Nrinam Shubha Shubha Vivechanaha. Mataji. Tastameko Bhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvaraha Sastadandadharo Nrinam Subha Shubha Vivechanaha. Atastameko Bhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvaraha Sastadandadharo Nrinam Subha Shubha Vivechanaha. Tastameko Bhutanam Shishwaranam Adishvaraha Sastadandadharo Nrinam Ataham as such, Tvam, you, Ekaha, one, Bhutanam, of all living beings. Saishvaranam, including all the demigods. Adishvaraha, the Supreme Master. Shashta, the Supreme Ruler. Dandadara, the Supreme Administrator of Punishment. Nrinam, of human society. Shubha Ashubha Vivechanaha, who discriminates between what is auspicious and inauspicious. Okay, so we'll do the translation. We have translation to who doesn't understand English? Translation, yeah. Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Judge must be one, not many. It was our understanding that you are the Supreme Judge of that you have jurisdiction over the demigods. Our impression was that you are the Master of all living entities, the Supreme Authority who discriminates between the pious and impious activities of all human beings. Let's repeat that verse. The Supreme Judge must be one, not many. It was our understanding that you are the Supreme Judge and that you have jurisdiction even over the demigods. Our impression was that you are the Master of all living entities, the Supreme Authority who discriminates between pious and impious. Let's do that again. The Supreme Authority who discriminates between the pious and impious activities of all human beings. Okay, there's no purport, so we will read the next verse. Tasyate vihito dando na loke vartate dhuna chaturvi adutai siddhai agyate vipralambita. Translation. But now we see that the punishment ordained under your authority is no longer effective, since your order has been transgressed by 4 wonderful and perfect persons. Purport. Prabhupada says something. The Yamadutas had been under the impression that Yamaraj was the only person in charge of administering justice. They were fully confident that no one could counteract his judgments. But now, to their surprise, his order had been violated by the 4 wonderful persons from Siddha Loka. Om Ajnana Mirandasya Nagyanan Shalakaya Chakshuzan Militan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Shrimate Ishvara Prabhu Namaste So thank you so much for one more opportunity to be sharing with you my very humble realizations. I'm but a simple student in the path of Bhakti Yoga, and I'm here sharing with you these realizations I have gathered along the way. So, we discussed 2 days ago about how the protection is sweet. Right? This canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is describing about protection. And here we have the situation where the followers of Yamaraj, who is Dharma himself, who is Dharma personified, Yudhishthira Maharaj has a great connection to this. And that person has been challenged. So naturally his followers are bewildered. How is this possible? Just like if someone came to this room and challenged the teachings of our parampara and says, this is no longer valid, you were mistaken. There's a higher truth for you to acquire. So that is the situation which we discussed. And their conclusion is very logical. They're saying, we thought that you were the Supreme Person. Because if you're not the Supreme Person, if there are two Supreme Persons, how can there be two exact verdicts? According to their opinions and understanding, there will be two different verdicts. So how will ever there be one unified position of reconciliation and justice and truth? That is the basis of their doubt. If you're not the person, then who is the person? And finally, how does your order connect to that order? That is the doubt here. Which is a brilliant way to pose this doubt. Because the universe is having the same doubt. Is there a Supreme Person? How come I cannot see this Supreme Person? I look around, but I cannot see the Supreme Person. I see one powerful person in India, one powerful person in America. I don't even see the demigods. So how do you say there is a Supreme Person? Even between the demigods there are fights. Between demigods and demons there are fights. So, and this is, I cannot see this, I can only understand this through scriptures. So the question is a very valid question. But here, the Srimad Bhagavatam is desiring to put a deeper thought into the discussion. And the deeper thought is that piety and impiety are basically two elements of this material world. But actually, if we want to be transferred to the quadrantal, are you familiar with this terminology? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati describes that the universe has 4 quadrantals, 4 quarters, 4 parts. We are in the uni-quadrantal part of the universe, the material world. But there are the 3 quadrantal part, which is the spiritual world. So if we want to relate to the transcendental part of the universe, we'll have to understand something beyond piety and impiety. Piety and impiety is very positive because it gives you a position to be near the situation where you can take the step to the transcendental realm. But in itself, it cannot take you to the transcendental realm. So now, this is the topic which is going to be discussed, and it will culminate in the 7th canto when the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj is exalted. When we understand the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, then this discussion will be fully matured. The discussions of how we are in a world which is full of miseries. A world where nobody can escape the different miseries which are reserved for us. Sometimes one of our spiritual masters says, Just a small finger of yours, a small little finger, can remind you how miserable is this world. And he says, on your foot, you have 5 toes. The small toe has no function. It's just there. But just remember, when you hit your small toe on a stone, it's just there to remind you how miserable the world is. So nobody can escape the miseries of this world. And this chapter is introducing the concept that there is a supreme controller, and that this controller is going to be revealed. At the same time, there's a very clear point going under here, which is the point of justice, the point of which is piety, the point of transcendence, and finally the point of how our behavior is dependent on qualities. This is going to be fully described by Narada Muni on the 7th canto, 11th chapter, verses 8 to 12. He'll describe 30 qualities for the human beings, to be a human being. So while this verse is introducing the concept that there is a Supreme Lord, and there is a way of relating to the Supreme Lord, later on, Narada Muni is going to tell us how this behavior is based on qualities. And he's going to present 30 qualities to be a human being. Just like when you go to a supermarket in America, there's organic food, okay? And there's on stamp, organic food, USDA organic certified. Like that, Narada Muni is presenting a certification method for a human being. Have you seen these qualities? Have you ever read it? Has anybody here read these 30 qualities for a human being? Whoever has read it, raise your hand. It's very advisable, because these qualities, they are the qualities which rule a human being. So here, the Yamadutas is saying, look, this person broke all these qualities, and he's being glorified as a person which is so transcendental. How is that possible? How is that possible? We cannot understand that. So the Vishnuduta are preaching that simply by chanting once the name of Narayana, he has acquired that level of transcendence. So they're baffled. How come? And we discussed this on our last class. Why did his chanting become so effective? Do you remember? Let's take a little class from our students. Why was the chanting so effective of Ajamil? Anybody? Offenseless. So that is the teaching, which is a quality. Offenseless is one of the qualities that Narada Muni describes, not finding faults. So that's a quality of a human being. Later on in this class, we'll go to the 7th canto and revisit some of these qualities, so you can understand the scope of a human being. So protection is extremely necessary. Without protection, there is no civilization. There is no family. There is no institution. Everything becomes a little bit chaotic. And that's the situation we are living in the world. The Western world believes in profit and free will. Jai Shishi Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shishi Madan Mohan Ki Jai Shishi Krishna Balaram Ki Jai. The Western world is fully convinced. Do you have the Srimad Bhagavatam there? Can you go to 7th canto, 11th chapter, verse 8. The Western world is fully dependent on profit and free will. The goal is not protection. There's no protection. The so-called protection is simply to make the citizens ready to make profit. The whole economy is based on profit. The gross product of a country only measures production, profit. It's not describing happiness. So you see, Bhutan, a small country just next to India, they changed the concept. They said, we don't have a gross national product, right? We have a gross happiness product index. So now they're equating that the happiness of the citizens is the sign of development. And they decided that the whole country will go organic. They're saying no to industry, pesticides, and so many. So this is a king who is thinking about protection. And there's a beautiful talk on the YouTube or TED Talks about this person, which is describing the qualities of this king. A king who decides to protect his citizens. Right now in India, we are experiencing an attempt by your Prime Minister to protect the cows. He's saying, we will stop cow slaughter in India. And that is one of the qualities which is extremely, extremely foundational to any civilization. Do you have the verse? Okay, no problem. I can... Yes? You have it. Okay. So have a look at this verse. Let's quickly investigate this verse. You got there? Yes. Yeah, it's there? Okay. Yes. So the verse starts by a very interesting sequence, and you'll be very familiar with this. It says, Satyam doya tapasocham. Right? This is the Sanskrit. Do you know what that is? Can you tell me? Anybody? Satyam. Truthfulness. Doya. Tapa. Socham. Cleanliness. What are these? Do you remember? What is that for qualities? Aha! That is the vow all of us who were initiated made in our initiation. So you see, in the initiation, we made a vow with the 4 first qualities for a human being. Yes? So just see, there are 30. We think 4 principles, oh, okay. There are 30. Now, if we go a little more descriptive, can you go to the translation of this? A little more. Yes. Okay. There you are. I highly recommend analyzing this, because here Narada Muni is telling us what are the necessary qualities to run the show. The Bhakti show, which we are running, depends on this as a foundation. When you see this beautiful temple, how much is underneath? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever stopped in front of the temple and scratched your head? What is under this building? Must be very strong foundation here to hold all this beautiful, opulent temple. So what is that foundation? Here's the foundation. We've just read 4. Now see what he says. Bathing twice a day So in India it's not difficult. In America, in the winter, it is difficult. Minus 35, everybody's deciding if they're going to follow this or not. In Siberia. Tolerance, something India is very opulent in. Just go inside a local train and you see how tolerant the Indian people are. Yes. There's vendors coming, fruit people, and everybody's, even though you can't move, they're opening a space for the vendor to pass. Where is that coming from? The foundation of human. They have it. These simple people, villagers, but they have the foundation right there. That's why it's glorious. Discrimination between right and wrong. Now this is the point of the class today. That is the question of the Yamadutas. What is right and what is wrong? This person did so many wrongs and you're saying he's going to go to the spiritual world? We cannot understand. This is too much for our heads. Please tell us. And this question is going to open the whole chapter for us to think about transcendence as something which is beyond piety and impiety. And that's very hard because in this continent of India, subcontinent, everybody has thought in terms of piety and impiety for a long time. So if you go to a person and you say, look, this is Krishna. Yes, we know Krishna. Krishna is our friend. We know him for a long time. Right? Every Sankirtan devotee has that experience. And why is that? Because piety is so close to an Indian person, coming to a temple, giving a donation, respecting the sadhus. Any brahmachari in India is Swamiji, isn't it? Swamiji. Say, no, not Swamiji, I'm just brahmachari. But that's what it is. It's piety. How to receive a guest, that's piety. So discriminating between right and wrong is very clear. But the next step, that's what Prabhupada came to teach. And that's what Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching. How to see transcendent beyond. You see? But in the West, the idea is, okay, so if transcendent is beyond piety and impiety, it doesn't matter, I don't need to be pious or impious, and then they suffer so much because they fail in following the 30 qualities of human. I'm talking devotees here. While Indian-bodied devotees, they understand the value of the qualities. So they have that very clear in their hearts. That's a major advantage which you have. You have the culture at your disposal. So, as we go on, control of the senses. We think this is for yogi in the Himalaya. No, this is for a human being. Yesterday was Ekadashi. It was a great day to practice this quality. Yeah? Right in front of you is Govindas. And you say, no, today is Ekadashi. I'll not go to Govindas. Non-violence. Non-violence. Here we come to a very important point of cow protection, which you were asking me to talk about. Because we are basically, in our culture, as we know, understanding the connection between milk, ghee, and bhakti. Yesterday we saw the darshan of Maha Kaleshwara, and they were bathing the Shivaling with milk and ghee products. It's so intrinsic in the culture. But if you ask, where did this milk come from? Did it come from your Goshala? Are you sure the cows which give this milk will not be killed in the future? Completely sure? Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no, I don't know. But many places I go, they don't know. ISKCON we don't know many times. So non-violence means that we, when we go to the market and we buy Amul, we don't know where those cows are. When we supply our temples with milk and ghee from different sources, we are not sure the origin. Are we being non-violent? Are we failing to comply with this quality? And then we'll move very quickly to how cow protection is so connected to humanity. It's so connected to bhakti. Then we have 2 more qualities. I won't go through all the 30. It will take a whole seminar. I'll just go to these 2 more. 3 more. 4 more. Celibacy. That's so essential. I won't talk about this one. Charity. You're very familiar with the need to be charitable. But many ISKCON devotees are not familiar. They think, I am the charity receiver. I am not the charity giver. So if you want to give a donation, yes, I'm here. But when we have to give a donation, many times I'm a teacher, I don't have much. We have to be charitable. Everyone must be charitable. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta chastised his disciples heavily when they didn't give a donation. So, you think you're Paramahansa, you're not giving a donation? So see, we're just talking of 30 qualities for human beings. We haven't got to the transcendental qualities. Reading scriptures. Here we are. Reading scripture. This is the heart of a temple. If you want to see how healthy your body is, the doctor touches the pulse of a patient. The pulse of a temple is the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita classes. This is where the blood circulates in the temple. This is where life comes. Because we understand, we nourish our brains with transcendental knowledge, and we're able to perform our duties fully enlightened. And that light attracts people. When someone hits your door and he sees these effulgent brahmacharis, effulgent members, cherishing their inside knowledge and beauty and relation to God, they want to be part of this place. That is what attracts them. And then Prabhupada comes with 2 more, simplicity and satisfaction. Here you understand how our farm communities are so relevant. Because in a farm scenario, you can be very happy with very little. Very little external. Some fruits, some grains, some sabji, space around you, sky around you, rivers, the breeze, all these opulences are so interesting. But it is manifest in a simple environment. And in that simple environment, the mind can be fully stationed. And we can fully concentrate in the transcendental affairs. So Prabhupada made his farm communities so that farm communities could come and supply our kitchens with milk, with grains, with vegetables, with flowers. And when someone comes here, they say, oh, we're doing organic. We also have organic. We have natural. It's just coming from our farm. So you see, the point which the Western society is thinking, trying, Prabhupada gave that right there. And it's one of the qualities that we need to develop. Simplicity and satisfaction. This is the one quality which makes a bhakti yogi progress. Because if you get, oh, there's so much I can conquer in this world, there's so much business I can do, so much I can conquer, you're never satisfied, your mind is spinning. You never have that peace of mind to sit and go inside, boil the milk. Prabhupada said we need to boil them. What does that mean? It means we have to go deep. We have to remove those anarthas, like a gardener. And then to be able to do this, we'll visit the 7th canto, and now I'll give what you're asking for. In the same 7th canto, a few chapters before, verse 12, Please note this down. 7 to 12. 7 to 12. Here, Hiranyakashipu is telling what to do to finish a civilization. Yes, you have it there. Let's read it. Anybody would like to read it? Look at this verse. That is the instruction of Hiranyakashipu. That's his plan to stop Vishnu. And Prabhupada says in his purport, the proper, you can just go, yes, look at that. The picture of a proper human civilization is indirectly described here. And he's going to tell about that. So, he mentioned study of the Vedas and the cows. When we want to attack Varnashram Dharma, these are the two places we have to attack. And that's why the Western world is so competent in slaughtering the cows. Because they're trying to stop a perfect civilization which will lift a person to the transcendental position. Narada Muni has described the foundation for Varnashram, the human qualities. And from that, now you can come to the first floor, which is Varnashram. And from that, we'll go to transcendence. So how is cow protection so related to bhakti? How is it so protected to bhakti? Because you see, I don't know how many of you buy milk from a protected cow. Do you? Are you sure your milk supply comes from a protected cow? I know the temple is, because the cows are right there. So they're doing, it says, yes, we are doing cow protection, and we are serving our deities with ahimsa milk. Milk which is non-violent. Now, the consequences, when we kill the cows, immediately there is war. You see, the country where I come from, Brazil, one man has 2 lakhs cows. 2 lakhs. But his purpose is not protection. His purpose is profit. He doesn't care if the cows die or don't die. In fact, he kills the baby calves very young, because it's a type of meat they like. Very, very sinful. So people in Brazil are thinking, yes, we are very rich, we are part of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the 5 emerging powers of the world. Do you know what happened in Brazil? Never in history the main politicians have been asked to go to court. Many of them are in prison. It's something unreal. The main corrupt politicians are being asked to go to prison. Why? Because they base the full development of Brazil on the meat industry. Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. They base the whole development of a country on exporting beef. And now they're suffering the consequences. Leaders going to jail. Inside cities there's whole wars in the slums of Rio de Janeiro. People have machine guns shooting citizens and police officers shooting. That is the consequence. That is the picture Prabhupada is mentioning here. That's a full hellish situation, because it's based on opposite of Varnashram Dharma. So why is cow protection so important? Because from cow protection you develop all the ingredients that you need for a proper human civilization, for yagya, your ghee. All these lamps which are being offered need ghee. When you make yagya, you need ghee. When you make boga offering for your deities, you need milk and yogurt and cream, and to make your ladus, to make your gulab jamuns. So many milk preparations. So see how important it is. We have to give the example. People need to come to our temples and see, yes, they are very serious and their program is very solid. It's a real program. And that's what we're doing right now. I went to North America, to New Vrindavan, where Prabhupada started cow protection in 1968. He had one cow. The cow was named Kalia. You might have heard, she was a blind cow of one eye. She could only see in one eye. And she was from a mixed breed. Nobody even knew what was the breed of Kalia. And Prabhupada, when drank the milk of this cow, he said, "It is the best milk I've ever tried." This was in 1968. Many years later, Prabhupada came back to New Vrindavan and they showed the cow to Prabhupada. "Prabhupada, do you know who this is?" And Prabhupada says, he'll put his head up and he says, "Of course, it's my friend Kalia." He could recognize his first cow in ISKCON. So next year, we are completing 50 years anniversary of cow protection in ISKCON. And New Vrindavan is making themselves ready to make a big celebration. But in this New Vrindavan in 2017, in May, I went there just to meet your Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Swami, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. And we were discussing how to implement in ISKCON cow protection in a grand way. Your Guru Maharaj is deeply contemplating how we can implement cow protection in ISKCON. Because it's such an essential quality for the human values. For Varnashram, it's not just an extra program. We have this program, youth preaching. Cow protection is foundational. It is a source for Ayurveda. It is a source for Yagya. It is a source for Bhakti with Boga offering. It is a source for human nourishment. It is a source for the sages. The sages in the past would go house to house and beg for 1 cup of milk. And the time they spent there was the time when they milked that cup. They got the cup, gave the blessings, and left. That was their business. So you see how important it is in our civilization, in our bhakti cult. Your Guru Maharaj is deeply thinking how we can implement this in our ISKCON. And because he is the leader of the GBC this year, he is really contemplating how to implement essential things in ISKCON. Like deity worship, you see the beautiful altars you're producing. It makes such a difference when you see these altars. Such a high quality. How he is thinking about developing farm communities in a successful way. How he is thinking in making the succession plan of the GBC with that book he published, the founder Acharya. So he is thinking how to show ISKCON with all the aspects. So that's his endeavor. And I must admit, he's a very, very dedicated GBC member. His schedule, Rasananda Prabhu, he testified, he was serving him personally. It is just amazing how he is traveling and dictating and meeting people in a very simple way. So in this meeting in New Vrindavan, he just looked at the New Vrindavan team and said, "You have land, you have money on the bank, they have a huge amount of money, double your cow protection program." And the managers almost fell down from the chair. So, what? No, we can't do that. It's not possible to do that. We had so many experiences in the past. The whole night we discussed. The following day, the main cowherd person has been protecting cows for 40 years non-stop. New Vrindavan had so many difficulties. At one point they even left ISKCON. And this cowherd didn't leave cow protection. His name is Ranaka Prabhu. So in the following morning I had a meeting with him. He's a very silent person. Nobody knows him. Even Maharaj didn't know him. He's there for 40 years. But he's so humble and silent that nobody knew him. And we discussed the whole morning. And in the end of the meeting he said, I guess we can do it. Because he just understood the formula. And he said, he got so inspired that he went to the board of New Vrindavan and said, you know, I'm going to build a new Goshala here. Can we do it? And the whole board was, wait a minute, Ranaka is preparing to take Vanaprastha and to stop everything, and here comes him saying, we're going to build a real Goshala with teaching facilities because we want to show cow protection. And this was one conversation of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami with this team. So, cow protection and bhakti are very connected, and it's coming very soon. In Europe, the more than 50 important parliament members of the European Union made a proposal to reduce 30%, can you imagine, of the dairy industry. 30%. It's like 1/3 less dairy, slaughter, milk production. So it's a huge pressure. They are making these proposals. Why? Because people are becoming aware. We can't be like careless people. Just go to the market, we buy our milk. It's no problem. We are offering to Krishna, everything is solved. That was a good argument for many years, but now the responsibility is calling upon ISKCON. So here, the followers of Yamaraj is asking him, we are confused. We don't know what to do because please enlighten us. And he's going to enlighten how he is connected to Supreme Person, who is actually the Supreme Master of everyone, and who is a cowherd boy. And that's why cow protection is a very important part of our mission. There is one instruction Prabhupada gave to his Yashomati Prabhu. You familiar with him? He doesn't stay very far from here. Let me see if I can open. If I can open this. Maybe I can. Hold on. I wanted to read a letter that he gave, but somehow it's not coming so easily here. So, hold on. Just give me a second. Oh, hold on. I know. Yes, I got it. Okay, I'm going to read it for you. This letter to Yashomati, it says, where there is agriculture, there must be cows. This is Prabhupada in 76, I'm sorry. 76. That is our mission. Cow protection and agriculture, and if there is excess, trade. This is a non-profit scheme. For the agriculture, we want to produce our own food and we want to keep the cows for our own milk. The whole idea is that we are ISKCON, a community to be independent from outside help. Look at this instruction. This farm project, especially for the devotees to grow their own food, cotton also, make their own cloth, and keeping cows from milk and fatty products. Our mission is to protect our devotees from unnecessary heavy work and save time for advancing in Krishna consciousness. This is our mission. Okay, he's fast. He's trying to find the letter there. So I'll just end here and open to questions. You see, Prabhupada had such a brilliant idea. We'll keep a farm. We'll supply the Govinda's restaurants. We'll supply the temples. When devotees get old, they can take shelter there. We can have retreats. We can have Ayurveda retreats. Everything was contemplated by him. And now is the moment when this is going to start. We have built many temples. We have many devotees. And now ISKCON is seriously contemplating about that. And I'm very happy that this temple is giving a good example in cow protection. It's very enlightening for the heart to see that. So I thank you for that. I thank you for this service. Okay? And I'll open if you have questions. If you have corrections that you'd like to make, you're very welcome. There's a mic. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a nice class about the protecting the cows. I have a doubt on this. You describe the protection of the cows and also at the same time using of the product of that cows. Some devotees I heard, they have that mentality. Their point of view is this. Either it's not, I don't know what's the reason beyond this. They're thinking not to using even the product of that cows. Because I'm not sure this is protected cows. You already mentioned in Brazil. This person has 2 lakhs cows. But he is not in protecting in the purpose of this. What's the actually your comments? What's your thinking about on this?
Thank you for the very nice question. His question is, protecting the cows may mean not even using the products of the cow, just protecting. It's a very good question, and it's very well thought and discussed in many places. You see, when Krishna goes out every day with his cowherd friends, they're not thinking how much money we'll get from the dairy. They're just thinking, we love these cows. We will have fun with them and we'll protect them. If any cow is in a difficulty, we'll just protect them. They're under our shelter. Okay? But so much milk comes and they're making their milk products. The gopis are going daily. Actually, it's a major part of Krishna pastime. Krishna is taxing the gopis in giving milk products for him. Actually, there's a situation where Madhu Mangal, he is fined to eat 1 million or 3 million ladus. That's the fine they apply to him. And 3 million ladus, I imagine, takes a lot of milk. Because it's milk ladus. So, the point is, if your goal is profit, it is not protection. But if your goal is protection, naturally, the milk will come. And from protected cows, you don't exploit because your goal is protection. So the reconciliation of the doubt is, this love takes a form. And that form is, Prabhupada mentions very clearly, you keep the milk, and you feed yourself, whatever is left, you trade. And whatever is left is a lot. And if you think about cow dung, cow urine, and the bull, it's such a huge opulence. Today, because we're getting lazy, everything today is to be lazy. remote control. Even in the car, we can't lower the window. It's a little button. We are becoming lazy. So we want to make everything easy. But actually this is bad, because when you don't do exercise, you become unhealthy. So the cow gives you 4 blessings. Do you know what the 4 blessings are? Cow dung. Every day she's giving cow dung. Cow dung is antiseptic. You can do panchagavya, you can do fertilizer, you can do fuel, you can construct houses, you can do so much with cow dung. Then you have cow urine, a natural pesticide, a medicine, which can be used in so many things. And then you have the milk, which can make so many tasty preparations which are very familiar, right? We don't need to list gulab jamun, ladus, so many nice preparations, kheer. And then you have the bull. What does the bull do? He works on the ground, he plows the land, he makes the transportation. And with this formula, you don't need any company, tractors, cars, you don't need anything. You yourself can manage fully your life, bhakti, the temple, everything is possible within that frame of the cow. So today people don't use the bull. It becomes more difficult to protect the cow. People don't use the cow dung very much, only for fertilizer, a little bit for yagya here and there, a little bit for cooking here and there. And the cow urine is very little used. Do you understand? So everything is on milk. The whole pressure. We want milk to pay everything. It's not possible. So what is the conclusion of the businessman? You have to kill the cows. We cannot keep it. There's no money behind it. So people, because of this model, they conclude, okay, so if exploiting the cows means taking the milk, protecting means not taking anything. They think like this. They just go reverse. But that's not Krishna's position. Krishna's position is you protect the cows, and from a protected cow, you use all their milk to offer to Krishna. Just like this, to finalize your question. A protected brahmachari in a temple, I say, okay, keep the brahmachari in the ashram, brush him every day, okay? Give him some nice prasadam, let him be in the room. And then I'll invite people here to give some donations. I'm keeping a brahmachari here so nicely, look. The brahmachari is under extinction in many parts of the world. I'm keeping brahmachari in my ashram. I'm feeding him, I'm brushing him, I'm giving love to him. Yes, people give donation for this program? Yes? Yes or no? Not too much interest. But if you have a brahmachari who is on the road, preaching, doing book distribution, happy, enlightened, people will give support for this brahmachari ashram? Very much so. So, full protection means engagement. If I don't engage, after some time, it's a burden. But if it's engaged properly, it is a blessing. So that's what we're looking for. The blessing of cow protection. And we're getting there. It's coming. It okay?
Sometimes it is
have
not
another question.
possible fully to protect as a whole, when in the world also. But
You see,
as much as possible,
that's not a problem. Think about it. How many ISKCON devotees are here in Ujjain? 300-400, right? How many people live in Ujjain? 8 lakhs. So 400 is working with 8 lakhs. How? Example. By your example, 8 lakh people will become inspired. If you give a good example, Prabhupada was one. He preached in the whole world. How? By example. So, we are vegetarians, many people are not. Yesterday there was a feast. Maybe some people were not eating vegetarian food. But by our example, we can preach to them. And they can, after some time, understand how bad, polluting, and for the whole system, it is not beneficial. Actually, many countries are already, even with different Christians, Buddhists, understanding the same thing. Do you understand my point? So we are few, but by our example and training, we can address the whole world. Yes? We have 2 questions, 1 and 1. You can decide who is next. Prabhu, what time do we have to finish? Okay. We have this 2 questions, has 1 and then we'll finish. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very wonderful class. I just want to share my experience on the question as you just said, that yes, we set an example. Now I just want to share one incident in Bhaktivedanta Manor in Great Britain, that we had Goshala, we had one cow who was very, very sick, and we had doctors morning and night time. Morning time was allopath and night was homeopath. So in this way, and 2 nurses, morning time as well as night time. So in this way we were taking care of those 2 cows. Then one day, this RSPCA came in, is a group, they protect the animals. And they came and they saw these cows should be put down, And without taking our permission, they came in, and following day, very early in the morning, they injected this one cow. And obviously we didn't know, they didn't take any of our consent. And when we found out, of course we were not very happy, we took RSPCA to the court saying that what we were doing, we were taking care of the sick cow until it goes on its own, but they were thinking, RSPCA were thinking that no, we are torturing them. So in the end, the court decided that the RSPCA should give us a cow and 2 cows. So we actually won that. Yes. They will never ever interfere in ISKCON's affairs, because we know how to deal with our own situation.
Thank you for that example. You see, this is a very good example how by one action you can teach. See, today England is really favorable to Ahimsa. There's a Ahimsa Dairy Foundation run by one devotee called Sitaram Prabhu, who is really he's in the news, and you see how it evolves. And you just imagine, the British people think, let's kill the cows which have TB, because we can't cure them. And they basically had no TB in the island. They're killing. But now, TB is back in the UK. So it was not a solution. They killed so many cows, yet TB came back. So now they're looking at us for an example. That also answers your question. Thank you for that. We have a last question, and we have to be very brief.
Hare Krishna. So India is a land of religion, but unfortunately we are seeing that India is #1 exporter of cow flesh.
Yes.
So what is our agenda in this case?
You see, what you're telling me is what happened by one of your leaders. Nehru was the person who did what the British people could not do. The British people ruled 200 years India. They could not destroy the village structure. They did what they did. The British, the Mongol, the Greeks, they could not touch the village structure. How did it happen? Nehru changed education. The village books now teaching, no, village life is primitive. You go to the town, get a job, that's life. And you're talking about Indian things? Not so good. Western things are very good. So you just see how far this mentality has reached. So that's kind of how the system of karma in India is working. But just see the consequences which will come. And if we are ready, that's the time when ISKCON will provide the answer. So we have to do the homework now. Because the Indian leaders became bewildered by this whole scenario. So many people went to the West, did the PhDs, and they came back, they brought those values to India. Not only to India, to the village. And if the village changed, India changed. Because so many people in the villages. So what can we do? Reverse the process. We start preaching to the villagers and telling them that what they have is very, very valuable. It's more valuable than the New York IT job. Then they'll understand. Yes, the New York people are looking into the village development. So this is important. That's the way out. Okay? So we'll end here. I thank you all very, very much for your hospitality. We will be going back to Mayapur tomorrow morning. It was a wonderful time here. We were so well received by your congregation and your devotees in the temple. I have a lot of gratitude in my heart, and all I can do is pray. I can't do much. I wish to do some work with His Holiness Bhakticharu Swami so we can glorify this temple, make it an example. And finally, I can ask for your blessings that a small devotee who is nothing but an instrument can do some service. So if you do accept to bless me, please raise your hands and say Haribol. Jai, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. We would like to extend our thanks to His Grace Kalakanta Prabhuji